Have you ever wondered how the biblical plagues would look in the modern world? Let's dive into this fascinating topic together. Our journey begins in ancient Egypt. Picture a time of grand pyramids and majestic pharaohs, a civilization at the height of its power. But this civilization was brought to its knees not by war or famine, but by a series of 10 devastating plagues. These events, as recorded in the religious text of the Bible, were a manifestation of divine power, designed to compel the pharaoh to free the enslaved Israelites. Let's briefly walk through these plagues. First, there was water turning into blood, a plague that poisoned the life-giving Nile River. This was followed by the plague of frogs, which swarmed out of the river and into homes, causing chaos and discomfort. Then came the plagues of gnats and flies, bringing disease and pestilence. The fifth plague killed livestock, a vital resource for the Egyptians, while the sixth brought painful boils upon the people. The seventh, eighth, and ninth plagues, hail, locusts, and darkness, were destructive forces of nature that ravaged the land and disrupted daily life. But it was the 10th and final plague, the death of the firstborn, that struck the most devastating blow to the Egyptian people, and finally compelled the pharaoh to release the Israelites. Each of these plagues was not just a disaster, but a direct challenge to the Egyptian gods. They served to demonstrate the impotence of these deities and the supreme power of the God of Israel. They were catastrophic events, yes, but they were also rich with symbolism and religious significance. These plagues, catastrophic as they were, served a purpose in their time. But how do they compare to modern plagues? As we venture forward, we'll examine that question, delving into the similarities and differences between these ancient calamities and the challenges that face our world today. Our world today has been hit by plagues that, while different in nature, have had a profound impact on societies, just like the biblical plagues. Let's delve into this comparison further. Take the biblical plague of locusts, for instance. These creatures swarmed the land, devouring everything green in their path, leaving behind nothing but barren landscapes. Now let's fast forward to the 21st century. We're not dealing with locusts, but something equally devastating: climate change. The greenery is still disappearing, but this time, it's due to deforestation and rising global temperatures. Much like the locusts, climate change is leaving in its wake a barren, inhospitable world. Next, consider the plague of disease that swept through Egypt. Fast forward again, and we find ourselves in the midst of a global pandemic. COVID-19, much like the biblical plague, has spread across continents, taking lives and bringing societies to a standstill. The fear, the uncertainty, the loss, all reminiscent of the biblical times. And then there's the plague of darkness. In the Bible, this took the form of 3 days of complete darkness. Today we face a different kind of darkness, the aftermath of nuclear disasters. Think of Chernobyl or Fukushima. The fallout from these events has left vast areas uninhabitable, shrouded in a metaphorical darkness that could last for hundreds of years. These modern plagues, while different in nature from their biblical counterparts, share a similar capacity for devastation. They've disrupted societies on a global scale, affecting economies, health systems, and ways of life. They've forced us to confront our mortality, our vulnerability, and the fragility of our world. But there's another parallel here. Just as the biblical plagues were said to be a consequence of human actions, so too are these modern plagues. Climate change is fueled by human activity, pandemics are exacerbated by our global interconnectedness, and nuclear disasters are, of course, entirely man-made. Just like the biblical plagues, these modern plagues have caused widespread devastation and forced us to question our actions and decisions. While the plagues have changed, the lessons we can learn from them remain the same. The narrative of plagues is not merely a tale of devastation and despair, it's also a story brimming with lessons, moral, societal, and humanistic lessons that echo through time, from biblical ages to the modern era. These lessons are not confined to the pages of holy books or the annals of history. Instead, they are living, breathing messages as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. In the face of a plague, biblical or modern, the first lesson is humility. It's a stark reminder that despite our technological prowess and scientific advancements, we remain at the mercy of nature. Like the ancient Egyptians, we too can be brought to our knees, not by a wrathful deity but by a microscopic organism. The second lesson is the power of unity. Plagues do not discriminate. They affect the rich, the poor, the mighty, and the meek alike. In the midst of a plague, our differences fade into insignificance. Like the Israelites, we too must stand together, not as disparate individuals but as one community, one humanity, battling a common enemy. The third lesson is the importance of adaptation. History is replete with societies that perished because they failed to adapt to changing circumstances. Plagues, whether they come in the form of locusts, frogs, or viruses, force us to reevaluate our ways, to innovate and to evolve. Finally, plagues teach us the value of foresight and preparedness. The biblical plagues were a result of Pharaoh's obstinance, his refusal to heed warnings. Today we must not make the same mistake. We must learn from our past, anticipate future challenges, and prepare for them. In the end, the true measure of a society is not how it fares in times of prosperity, but how it responds in times of adversity. Plagues, in all their destructive power, offer us a mirror to our souls, a litmus test of our resilience, and a roadmap to a better future. The plagues of the past and present serve as a stark reminder of the consequences of our actions. So, how do we cope with these modern plagues? First and foremost, scientific advancements play a crucial role in combating these plagues. As we've seen in the past, from the discovery of penicillin to the development of life-saving vaccines, science has been our best weapon against disease. Today, cutting-edge research in fields such as genomics and nanotechnology is providing us with new tools to detect, treat, and prevent plagues before they become widespread. But science alone isn't enough. We also need comprehensive policy changes. Governments around the world must prioritize public health and invest in robust healthcare infrastructure. This includes adequately funding research, ensuring access to healthcare for all citizens, and implementing effective public health measures in response to emerging threats. At the same time, we must recognize that many of these plagues are exacerbated by societal issues. Poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation all contribute to the spread of disease. Addressing these underlying problems is not just a moral imperative, but a practical necessity for preventing future plagues. Moreover, we need to promote a culture of preparedness. This means educating the public about the risks of plagues and the steps they can take to protect themselves. It also means building resilient communities that can withstand and recover from these crises. Finally, we must not overlook the power of international cooperation. Plagues do not respect national borders, and neither should our efforts to combat them. By working together, sharing information and resources, we can mount a more effective response to these global threats. In the end, coping with modern plagues is a complex challenge that requires a multifaceted approach. It's about harnessing the power of science, making smart policy decisions, tackling societal issues, fostering a culture of preparedness, and promoting global cooperation. By understanding and learning from the past, we can better deal with the plagues of the present. The biblical plagues and modern plagues, while vastly different in nature, share striking similarities. We've journeyed together through time, witnessing the havoc wrought by these plagues, both biblical and modern. We've seen the echoes of the past in our present and have learned that history indeed has a way of repeating itself. In our exploration, we've delved into the heart of darkness, comparing the plagues of biblical times to those we face today. We've seen how the 10 plagues of Egypt, though steeped in religious lore and supernatural phenomena, bear striking resemblances to the plagues of our era. From the blood-red Nile akin to toxic algal blooms, to the death of firstborns, echoing the tragic loss of life due to pandemics. We've also peered into the lessons from the past, understanding that these historical events aren't just stories, but guideposts lighting our path forward. The plagues of old teach us about the resilience of humanity, the importance of community, and the need for scientific understanding. They remind us that we have faced such trials before and emerged stronger. In coping with modern plagues, we've seen how knowledge and understanding of these past events can equip us better to deal with our present challenges. From the battle against the invisible enemies like viruses and bacteria, to tackling the visible yet often ignored problems like pollution and climate change, we've learned that the solutions lie not just in medical advancements, but also in societal shifts, changes in attitude, and global cooperation. As we've journeyed through this exploration, we've found that understanding these plagues, both past and present, can help us better prepare for the future. They provide us with a blueprint, a roadmap that can guide us as we face similar challenges in our modern world. As we continue to navigate the challenges of our modern world, let us remember the lessons of the past and strive to create a better future. We carry the wisdom of our ancestors with us, the lessons learned from centuries of survival and adaptation. With this knowledge, we can face the future, not with fear but with hope and resolute determination.